Welcome to latest News Blaster. The world of television journalism has witnessed countless rises and falls, but few stories have shaken the media landscape as much as that of Matt Lauer. Once celebrated as one of America's most recognizable news anchors, the former Today Show host has now reached a point of no return. With his sentence finalized and all appeals exhausted, the end of his professional legacy is not only sealed, it is erased in the eyes of many. This chapter marks the conclusion of a career that spanned decades, defined by both remarkable success and devastating from trusted anchor to household. For more than 2 decades, Matt Lauer was synonymous with morning television. Joining NBC's Today in the early 1990s, his charm, quick wit and calm demeanor made him a trusted face in millions of households across the United States. He was not just a presenter, he was a cultural figure, one of those rare personalities whose presence could influence national conversation. Lauer conducted interviews with presidents, world leaders, celebrities and everyday heroes. His ability to navigate breaking news stories while still keeping the morning show light-hearted gave him a unique edge. By the early 2000s, he was one of the most powerful men in broadcast journalism, commanding multi-million-dollar contracts and enjoying a level of fame many journalists could only dream. But as history has shown time and again, power and prestige can often become fragile, and for Matt Lauer, the downfall was sudden, steep, and the scandal that changed everything. The turning point came in November 2017, when NBC abruptly announced Lauer's firing following allegations of sexual misconduct in the workplace. The revelations emerged during the height of the #MeToo movement, a period when numerous powerful men across industries were exposed for predatory behavior. The accusations against Lauer were shocking. Reports described inappropriate relationships, power imbalances, and unwanted advances. The details not only stunned his colleagues, but also the loyal audience who had welcomed him into their living rooms every morning for years. Almost overnight, the man who had been a trusted voice became a symbol of betrayal. His carefully built reputation crumbled, and his exit from NBC was both dramatic and final. Legal battles, and final sentence. While initial coverage focused heavily on his firing, the story didn't end there. Over the years, multiple investigations and lawsuits followed. Some cases were settled privately, while others dragged on, exposing further damaging accounts. The final blow came when the legal system completed its work. After lengthy proceedings, appeals and debates over accountability, Matt Lauer's sentence was declared final. Though specifics of such cases often remain complex, ranging from financial penalties to professional bans, the meaning was clear. There would be no return to television, no redemption arc, and no comeback. This official closure ensured that Lauer's story would forever remain one of disgrace. Unlike some celebrities who managed to rebuild after scandals, the finality of his sentence erased any possibility of a revival in the mainstream media. The collapse of a legacy. What makes Matt Lauer's downfall particularly striking is not only the nature of the accusations, but also the scale of his influence before the scandal. He was more than just a journalist, he was a figure woven into the cultural fabric of America. For decades, viewers associated him with family mornings, breaking news coverage, Olympic Games broadcasts, and heartfelt human interest stories. His voice guided people through national tragedies and joyful celebrations alike. That kind of influence is rare, and its sudden destruction left a vacuum in the industry. But with the sentence finalized, his legacy is now permanently stained. Instead of being remembered as a pioneer of morning television, Lauer's name will forever be tied to misconduct and disgrace. Reactions from the industry. The finality of his case drew varied reactions from colleagues, critics and the public. Within NBC, where his shadow loomed large for so many years, there was a sense of closure. For the staff who worked during his era, the confirmation of his permanent exit reinforced a new culture, one focused on accountability and safety in the workplace. Industry analysts, meanwhile, pointed out that Lauer's fall was symbolic of a broader shift. In earlier decades, powerful men often avoided consequences despite allegations. The fact that someone as high profile as Matt Lauer faced irreversible consequences demonstrated a cultural change. Networks, corporations and audiences were no longer willing to tolerate misconduct hidden behind fame. Public perception, shock, betrayal and finality. For the public, The end of Matt Lauer's journey has been bittersweet. On one hand, there is relief and validation for those who came forward with accusations. On the other, many longtime viewers struggle to reconcile the man they once admired with the truth that emerged. For millions of Americans, Matt Lauer wasn't just a TV anchor, he was part of their daily routine. The finality of his sentence forces audiences to acknowledge that the trust they placed in him was misplaced. The broader impact on journalism. Lauer's downfall has also had a lasting effect on the journalism industry. His case serves as a cautionary tale for networks that long prioritized ratings and star power over accountability. Since his firing, many organizations have re-examined their workplace cultures, implementing stricter rules, complaint mechanisms, and systems of oversight. In this way, while his personal legacy has collapsed, his case has indirectly shaped the industry for the better. His downfall stands as a reminder that no figure, regardless of fame or power, is above the standards of ethical behavior, the human side of the story. Behind the headlines, there is also the personal cost. For Lauer himself, the finalization of his sentence has meant permanent exile from the industry that once celebrated him. His attempts to defend his reputation or deny aspects of the allegations have largely been overshadowed by the overwhelming evidence and cultural momentum against him. For his family too, the ordeal has been devastating. Private lives have been disrupted, relationships strained, and reputations tarnished by association. The human toll of such a scandal stretches far beyond the courtroom and the newsroom. The end of an era. The final word on Matt Lauer's sentence is more than just a legal ruling. It is the closing of a cultural chapter. It marks the end of an era in morning television, reminding the world how fragile fame can be and how quickly trust can turn into betrayal. While television moves on with new faces and fresh voices, the ghost of Lauer's scandal will always linger as a reminder of what once was. His career, which began with such promise and commanded such influence, has been reduced to a cautionary tale. Conclusion. Goodbye forever. Matt Lauer's sentence is final. The end of his legacy is more than just a headline. It encapsulates the story of a man who once defined an industry, but whose actions led to his own downfall. The official closure ensures that there will be no return, no reinvention, and no way to rewrite history. For Matt Lauer, it is goodbye forever. For the public, it is a reminder that legacies are fragile, and that true character eventually comes to light. His story will be remembered, not as the celebrated journalist who once shaped American mornings, but as the cautionary figure whose final sentence sealed the end of his legacy. Even though Matt Lauer has been absent from television screens for years, the echoes of his downfall continue to ripple through popular culture. The finalization of his sentence has reignited discussions about how society treats public figures once they fall from grace. Some argue that complete erasure is necessary for accountability, while others question whether there is room for personal redemption in such high-profile cases. The truth is, Lauer's story isn't just about one man. It's about an entire system that once allowed him to thrive unchecked. For decades, his influence was so strong that complaints against him reportedly went unaddressed. That culture of silence has since been exposed, leading to new expectations in workplaces worldwide. The symbolism of his fall. When celebrities and public figures are disgraced, the symbolism often carries more weight than the individual case. In Lauer's situation, his final sentencing became a metaphor for the end of a certain era in American media. Gone are the days when anchors were untouchable giants, shielded from criticism by their popularity. His downfall signaled a new world in which viewers demand accountability, transparency, and equality. The industry has been forced to move away from a culture of protectionism toward one of responsibility. In this way, Lauer's name, though tarnished, remains historically significant, rewriting history from icon to infamy. One of the most difficult realities for Lauer's fans has been the rewriting of history. Video archives, interviews, and memorable moments that once seemed nostalgic are now viewed through a darker lens. The joyful coverage of Olympic Games, the historic political interviews, and the light-hearted celebrity features now feel tainted by what was happening behind the scenes. It raises the painful question, can we ever separate the art, or in this case, the journalism, from the person behind it? For many, the answer is no. Lauer's presence in media history is now inseparable from the scandal that ended his career: colleagues' silence and distance. In the early days of his career, Matt Lauer worked alongside many respected journalists and television personalities. Some were loyal friends, others professional rivals, but since his firing and sentencing, most have remained silent. This silence speaks volumes. High-profile colleagues like Savannah Guthrie, Hoda Kotb, and Katie Couric have all, in different ways, distanced themselves from his legacy. Some expressed shock when the allegations first surfaced. Others later admitted they had heard rumors but never imagined the extent of the misconduct. With the sentence finalized, that distance has become permanent. Few, if any, industry insiders are willing to associate themselves with his name. The price of power. At its core, Matt Lauer's story is also about the dangerous intersection of power and privilege. For years, his authority at NBC gave him control not only over programming but also over people's careers. This imbalance of power is what made the allegations so serious. The final sentence is, in many ways, society's way of addressing that imbalance. It underscores that no amount of money, fame, or influence can shield someone from accountability forever. His case set an example that even those at the very top of media empires are subject to justice. What viewers lost. The collapse of Lauer's career also left a strange void for viewers. For years, families tuned in not just for news, but for a sense of comfort and consistency. Losing that familiar presence overnight felt jarring to many. But over time, audiences adjusted, and new faces emerged to take his place. This transition reflects a larger truth. No one is truly indispensable. No matter how iconic, individuals can be replaced, while the institutions of journalism and broadcasting live on.